All right, good morning. So today we're going to be going over the process of compliance, right, in Command, and how we go through the process of writing a contract if you use Docusign. Even if you don't use Docusign, and some markets may not use Docusign, and I'm fairly familiar with the different markets, so I can help you guys in the conversation today. This applies to everybody. So every office now, if you want to get your check, once you do a transaction, you need to know how we're doing what we're doing today. Does that make sense? All right. I want you guys to follow along with me today. So you can have the screen up, but I'm a coach at heart. Okay. And so I want you to go through the process with me. And I think you can do this a couple times. You'll get this down. You eliminate a fear factor of, hey, if I get a transaction or a deal, how do I run this thing through the process? Right. Okay. So we're going to record this. You can reflect back on it. But I want everyone to leave here today with super high confidence around, okay, if I meet someone tomorrow that says they want to do a transaction, here is how I get to my paperwork. Here's how I get things signed. Here's how I get things turned into my office so that my broker can make sure everything looks good. Does that make sense? Okay. What questions are, or let me phrase it this way rather. We're going to spend a couple hours together this morning. What are you looking to accomplish, right? So you guys saw compliance, Docusign. Some of you here might be here by force, right? Others you see the value in it. What are you looking to get out of this class today? I'm going to write a few things down just to make sure when we leave here, we got the main points addressed. So what are you thinking about around this topic that you're hoping you walk away with an answer with today? Tell me your fears.
Well, I suppose for me, not necessarily any fears, but just to have a good understanding of how Docusign might link with Command and how they interact with one another.
Okay, perfect. We are definitely going to hit that today. So those two systems can work together. So good question. And we'll go over that, talking about how Docusign and Command kind of work together and talk to one another to cut down work for you. What else?
Competency in using the system.
Okay. Very good. Now, Barbara, when you say that, is it remembering the steps? Is it just making sure that you see the puzzle from start to finish? What about that can help you out?
The steps mostly.
Okay, very good. All right, we're going to break it down easily today, and I'm going to give you guys kind of step-by-step instructions, and I'm going to call them out. So make sure you have a pen, piece of paper, right? And then you guys can repeat this process very easily. Anything else?
Same thing. I was just learning it.
Yeah, I was just going to say process.
Just the process. Okay. All right, great. Who on here so far has been creating opportunities? Who feels like they've got a part of this down and they're feeling pretty good about creating opportunities in Command? Does anyone feel that way? Okay, so we'll go over that process today. Anybody on Docusign? Is anyone on here like a Docusign master or feel like they've got a pretty good handle on how to use Docusign?
Yeah, I kind of know actually from previous, but I haven't really touched it since I'm in real estate.
Okay, awesome. So we'll bring all that information back together again today. All right, so everyone on here has a login. Everybody can log into Command, correct? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Guys, I really want this to be interactive. All right, I want you to get a lot of value out of this today. Let me introduce myself and kind of tell you who I am. So my name is Kyle Holleran. A lot of new faces on here, which I absolutely love to see. I've been with Keller Williams for 12 years rather. And I started down in Hampton Roads, Virginia after I graduated school in Richmond area. I was an agent, so just like all of you. So I can speak the agent all day long. And then I went on a leadership pathway. So I was the team leader at the Richmond office for 3 years. And then I was the team leader of the Fairfax office up in Northern Virginia. Right now, I'm the general manager of our 6 Keller Williams offices. So I manage all the operations for 6 market centers, but my passion lies in the technology. So I'm a labs advisor with KWRI and I'm an MCTT. So I love this tech stuff. So, wide open today. Let's make sure you walk out of here with high confidence and having all your questions answered. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Everyone open up Command. I just want to get to the home screen. I want to make sure everyone gets to the home screen. Now we're going to break this up a little bit today, and we're going to start with opportunities, and then we're going to go into Docusign. All right, so we're going to come back to some screens every once in a while, but we're going to start with actually creating opportunities and talk through what that means. Any questions before we begin?
No.
Everybody can see my screen.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So we're on the home screen here, and upper left-hand corner. Hopefully you've seen this a couple times. If not, click on the red KW symbol up there. Punches out all the different names of the icons until you get them all down and you understand which icon is which name. Once you do, you can punch it back in, get a little more screen. But today we're going to focus on this section right here called opportunities. All right. Who can explain to me what is an opportunity? No wrong answers today.
That's where you reach out to other I believe, reach out to, no, that's referrals. Never mind.
That's right. Taking a stab at it. That's referrals.
Anytime you start talking real estate or homes with a stranger or a friend or someone you are an associate with.
Perfect. You guys have talked about this week putting in contacts, yes? If everyone's been on the calls. Does everyone have some contacts in the system?
Yes.
Okay, good, because that's the first step, right? In order to create an opportunity, you must have a contact in the system to link it to, right? So I have to have a name at a minimum in the system so I can create an opportunity. But Bill just said it there. An opportunity is a potential for a real estate transaction. That might be in the next 30 days. It might be in the next year. Some of you may have seen agents or heard a training where they have like a whiteboard, right? Or you guys have a little pen and paper and you're writing down names of people who have said, hey, I'm thinking about maybe buying or selling, but it might be next year, right? Does anybody have a whiteboard, or where do you guys currently keep track of leads that aren't ready to go out and look at houses today?
I just have it underneath my contacts and have it written in there so I know to reach back out.
Okay, perfect. How does anybody else? You guys want to talk to me about how you organize your leads? So these are people that have raised their hand about a real estate transaction.
Same thing, just kind of tagging them.
Okay. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be driving in if this hasn't happened to you, it happens to every single agent. You're going to be driving in your car. Someone's going to call you. You're going to write something down on a napkin, right? You're going to forget about it. You're going to call that person 2 weeks later when you clean your car out and they've already bought a house. Okay. So being able to make sure that you have a system that when people say, hey, I'm reaching out to you, or I was given your name and number by somebody, we've got to track these people, and it'll make it so much easier for you to look at the board and go, here's who I need to call today. Okay. So that's what an opportunity is. All right. So let's go through the process of creating an opportunity. There's actually 2 ways to do this. I'm going to show you one way and then we'll go back and I'll show you the other. So our icons over here on the left-hand side, it says opportunity. Okay. Now, as this pulls up, what you're going to see is we're going to go over what the screen here is. This is your opportunities dashboard. Right. And check this out. This is an awesome tool. This is something I really wish I had when I was selling real estate. It would have kept me very in line and in a system. All right. So what you see here is this is, again, our opportunities dashboard, and you're going to see 3 pipelines. You're going to see a listing pipeline, a buyer's pipeline, and a leasing pipeline. Okay. A few dashboards down here below would show you some information that we'll talk about in just a minute. But I just want you to think about this, right? For a lot of you, you all see where it says cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, closed. Yes? Everybody see that on their screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the flow of the real estate transaction. Is it not? Right. So cultivate is, I meet somebody out this weekend who says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a property. So right now for listings in my pipeline, I've got 17 people that I've had a general conversation around maybe selling their house at some point, but they're not ready to sell their house, right? So they're in the cultivate stage, and it makes me feel better on my bad days when I feel like I don't have a lot of business coming to look and go, man, why don't I dig a little bit deeper here on these 17? So isn't it nice to have them kind of categorized that way as a listing lead, right, in that section?
Yeah.
And then I can see my whole business on one screen, right? This is a numbers game, whether you guys want to admit it or not, or excuse me, whether you have understood it yet or not, it's a numbers game. So I need to get more people in this funnel. It's a funnel into Cultivate. And as I reach out to these people and I garner that relationship, what's the next step? I'm trying to set an appointment, correct? So I set my appointment, right? And I'll show you how this goes a little bit deeper. All right. I meet with James and we have a conversation and I show him my value, right? And why I'm the best person to list his home. He then says, great, Kyle, let's go ahead and sign a listing agreement. I can then move that opportunity into active. And as I move these opportunities, all these numbers update automatically. You're not changing these numbers, right? All you need to do is move your opportunities through the pipeline, which I'll show you how to do, right? So look at this. If I said, hey, this was all my deals, after active, it goes under contract, right? And then it goes over to closed. So it's just a visible way of looking at your business and knowing where you got to put some time into based on your numbers as you stand today. Okay. Same thing with buyers, and then same thing with leases. So they're all separated. So down here, you can see I've got, 8 buyer leads potentially. I have 1 appointment set for a buyer. I don't have any active buyers I'm working with right now. Okay. So there's a 0 there. So I'm going, hey, how do I get some of these people to realize, hey, the market could be softening just a little bit, right? Interest rates are going up. Let's get you a house. And I'm trying to move people from here over to here. Questions on the pipeline?
No.
Okay. Right-hand side, you see some numbers here. So I haven't put them all in, but what you could also do is you could track. So if I said a timeline and also a price point, it could actually give me income potential in my pipeline. All right. So if everything in my pipeline closed, I can make $77,000. Right. As I move things through the pipeline, as they get closer to closing, the probability of making money goes up. Right. And so as I move my transactions through, this number will start to rise. Okay. So that's just a pipeline view. Down here at the bottom, it shows you some stats. So as you're creating opportunities, it's telling you, hey, here's how many listing opportunities you have. Here's how many buyers, how many leases. Okay. When we do business planning in the market that we're in right now, do you guys want more listings or buyers? What's the fastest way to make money right now?
Listings.
Listings.
I want you all to say it with me. Ready? Listings,
Listings.
listings, right? So listen, if you're just focusing on your buyers and you see that you got all these buyers and you have no listings, it's good to know that number. You got to be realistic about that. And like any other company, you got to see that number and say, what do I need to go study? What do I need to go learn so I can get listings or start that conversation, right? Because that is how you grow in this business, is being a listing agent potentially. Buyers agents are great, but in the market we're in, right, your quickest way to make an income and getting profitable is through listings. All right, great. We all understand the view here. So let's go ahead and create an opportunity together. So I'm going to use, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go backwards first. I'm going to go to contacts, and we're going to run through this like it was a real scenario. Who's met a lead recently? Where did you meet your lead? Someone on here better generated a lead this week.
Grocery store.
The grocery store. Okay. Was that you, Sarah?
Yes.
All right. So Sarah, I'm going to use you as my guinea pig today. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I met Sarah at the grocery store. Right. So I'm going to put her in. I got her name and number. Right. How did I get Sarah's phone number, by the way?
You asked.
I asked. Yeah. That's one. What's another way? Hey, Sarah, if you're thinking about selling your house, let me send you my mobile app. I can send you a link really quickly, and then you can check out all the homes near you that are for sale, give you a good idea of what the market's doing like in real time. And it's much more accurate than like a Zillow or a Redfin, right? Can I text you my app? Sure.
Absolutely.
Sarah, what's your phone number? Blah, blah, blah. 703-222-5874. Everybody with me on that? All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to say create a contact. That's all I had to put in there, right? So I put in Sarah's name and information, and now the lady I met at the grocery store, Sarah, I'm going to hunt her down, right? I'm going to get a transaction out of her. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to opportunities now, okay? So Monday comes around, I call Sarah and I say, hey, Sarah, this is Kyle Hollering with Keller Williams Realty. Hope you had a great rest of your weekend. Hey, I know when I bumped into you at the grocery store, you talked about selling your home. Can you give me a little bit more information about what your timeline is?
Sure. I need to sell very quickly.
Very quickly.
So,
okay.
As soon as possible.
Great. Pause. All right. So what I just did there was I have a potential lead, like not just a lead or a contact, right? I've got a potential deal at this point. That's when I create an opportunity, right? So I'm going to keep talking to my leads until they say I'm ready to do something. Now I'm coming into opportunities, top right corner, we see create opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And you're going to see your market center here. So I'm part of all these market centers. That's why you see it that way. I'm going to select Fairfax for the call today, but it should default to your market center. And if you're in more than one because you're in 2 different states or something, you would see both of them there. Second thing here, most important part of this. So if I'm losing you already, if you're getting bored, grab a cup of coffee and come back. Opportunity type, listing or buyer, landlord or tenant. You have to click the right one rather, because the compliance checklist rides with the type of opportunity. So if you say it's a listing, it's going to be asking you for the listing agreement and all the listing paperwork. So don't skip over this, because if you create it under a buyer, you have to close out the opportunity and open one up underneath of listing. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say it's a listing, and then who's the client. This is why I have to have the contact in first. So now that the client's in there, I'm going to start typing Sarah's name, right? And as I type her name, I should be able to find Sarah. There she is right there. Boom, there's the client.
I have a question.
Yes.
On there, it says, you need to have the legal name. At what point do you actually ask them for the legal name so that all the paperwork gets printed correctly?
So we're actually going to do that in Docusign. I'll show you that, like, there's a way in the details section to make sure that if someone goes by, Rick, and it's really Richard, I'll show you a way that you can actually, right now, the legal name
It doesn't matter here then.
It doesn't matter here. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now, in contacts, you can have people can be married, right? You can list a spouse in a contact record. So Sarah is married to Evan. All right. So if Evan was linked to Sarah, all I would do is click this co-seller button and his name would drop down. It automatically populate knowing that there's a relationship in the contact record. All right. The reason this is important is whoever I select here, though, like Sarah, when I go to create my Docusign room, if you use Docusign, all of her information, her email, her phone number are all going to move over into Docusign, and I don't have to type it all again over in Docusign. Okay. So it's worth making sure that the contact record has that info. It'll save you time later on.
I have a question.
Yep.
When do we get them to sign the buyer's agreement?
Stay with me. We're going to go through the flow here.
Okay.
Okay. Good question. Any other questions for here? All right.
Just real quick. So you said the opportunity type, and I'm listing, but let's say I also want to be a buyer.
Yep.
Is that just I'm creating a separate opportunity for that?
Really, really good question. One address, one opportunity. Okay. That's the way it works most of the time. So if it's a listing and it's 123 Main Street, it's an opportunity. If you're buying 127 Concord Court, it's going to be a separate opportunity. But if you have 2 people, let's say you're doing dual or an unrepresented party, you don't have to create both. If it's one address, it's one opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Alicia. I see a hand up.
Yes, I wanted to know here where it says estimated listing price. I know it's not a priority, but how do you estimate that based on, for example, if they say, hey, I want to sell my house for this price, how do you find out what it really could sell for?
Good. So that's like again, a whole 2-hour class probably. We could do CMAs, okay? Here's what I want you to know. I want you to go to kwconnect.com. If you guys don't know about that website, it's kind of like our education website, and it's like our Google. And if you typed in CMA, you're going to find all these classes that agents or companies have done around the country talking about how they evaluate homes and price homes. Here's the easiest thing I do. I draw a circle on my MLS and I search for everything that's sold in the last 0 to 60 days. Same bedrooms, similar square footage. It's going to give me a general idea. All right. But then you got to get down into the details, and that is its own class. So I'm not going to skip over it like it's not important, but we could talk about that for forever. And I'm happy to teach a CMA class at some point for the region. But good question there. Anything else on this screen?
Hey, yeah, Kyle, real quick.
Yeah.
When I click on the drop down, when I put her the listing, then it says client. When I type in her name, nothing. It says no options.
Okay. Are you on a team by chance?
Fredericksburg.
Right.
I don't have my license yet.
Okay. Is that person in as a contact?
Yes.
Gotcha. Is there anything up here in team?
Yes, it says MC0478 coaching team A.
Okay, so that's why. So click that drop down there and you should see your name. Click on your name.
I don't see my name. It just says that.
Okay.
Is there a limit to the number of characters you can put in for some names, etc.? And the reason I ask is I know a couple that are trying to list with me, and they are both their own living trust.
Yep.
And they have long names.
Yeah,
So,
characters shouldn't matter. No, I don't think there's anything like that in terms of characters.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep. All right. So you should, if you can't X out your team up here. So here's the reason why. When you're on a team or you're like in a PC program, you basically have two databases. Okay. You have a personal database and then you have like a team database, and you can switch that by going up top here. So if you're typing in a name and it says the team up here, that means the contact is in the wrong database, right? It's like not recognizing the team database.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you can do that. Go in there and you can put a contact in the team database, and then you should be able to kind of follow along here with us. And I'm happy to troubleshoot with you after the call if we need to.
Okay.
All right.
So when
right.
you are on a team, the owner is the lead team person, and then your name is co-person?
Yeah. So typically the team, the rainmaker, right, has visibility into all the opportunities. And when you create the opportunity, you're the assignee. So both of you get to see it. So that way, when your team lead logs into their command, they can see and help you with your deal.
Okay, and they just know it's me because of, okay.
Yep, because you created under your profile, correct?
Right, okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, then the last couple things down here are contact tags, right? You guys talked about how to organize your contacts. There is a way to create tags for opportunities. I'm gonna leave it there for right now. We're gonna come back to it later, but I just want to show you that's where you can add different tags. Okay. Now let's get back to this example. Sarah says, hey, I need to sell my house soon. She gives me her address, and I look it up and I say, okay, Sarah's house is worth around $500,000. So I'm just putting in an estimated listing price. And then this right here is a required field. Okay. Commission rate. This is buyer. This is your side of the commission, not total commission. So if you're charging 6% total commission, but your piece of it would be 3, right? You're typing in 3. So this is how we're calculating these numbers over here. If we sold this house, what's 3% of 500,000? 15 grand. So that's where we're trying to find that number from. Does that make sense? So required fields, market center, opportunity type, client, commission rate. And then we're going to talk about these two here. They default, but I'll show you what this looks like. And then we're going to click create, and that actually creates the opportunity. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's create the opportunity. So boom, there we go. Now I've got like a card. I want you to think of it that way, or an opportunity for Sarah Duco's listing. All right. So now everything having to do with this has to do with her deal, not Sarah, the contact, Sarah, the transaction. Because remember, Sarah might be an investor and I might have 4 opportunities with Sarah. So I need to go look at 123 Main Street and 567 Main Street, right? Like I can have multiple opportunities underneath of one contact record. Okay. So when we create the opportunity, it says details, seller profile, marketing, documents, offers and commissions, notes, and timeline. Have I lost anybody? Okay,
No.
Perfect. All right, so here's all the information that I just typed in on that first screen, right? It's showing up here. So if you need to edit any of that information, there's a little pencil and you can do that, all right? The next thing I'm going to tell you to do is right here, there's a property section with a little pencil. Go ahead and put the address in, because now when I get my listing paperwork from Docusign, the listing address is going to pre-populate over to all the documents. Okay, so I'm going to click this little pencil right here. I'm going to add in Sarah's property address, and I'm going to say it's going to be, I'll put in my address, 404 Dale Road, Millersville, Maryland, right? So I select it, hit save, and boom, now there's the address. See how easy that was? Every opportunity must be associated with an address for compliance. So you got to put it in. So make sure you put in that address, but now that'll carry through for you. Okay. So just a high level view, that's your details page. Everybody good? Now, the two we're really going to focus on today is going to be this documents and offers and commissions tabs, right? This is where we're going to go to upload all of our documents to the office and also get to Docusign, right? To be able to write contracts. So we're working that way. And then offers and commissions is what we put in when we ratify a deal so we can get paid. So in this opportunity, you know, I would say 90% of the time we're using details, documents, and offers and commissions. I'll touch on these other tabs But again, just want to emphasize these are the three main tabs I want you to learn and focus on to start. All right. Everybody good? All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to up top here, you see it says listings, cultivate, and sales pipeline. So I'm going to back up now. So I've created this opportunity. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my sales pipeline. Let's go back into our scenario here. You can see this listings now says 18. It said 17 before. So me creating that listing and it going into Cultivate made that number go up, right? So now I can go in here and click on, let me do that again. Click on Cultivate, this icon, and it'll actually bring me into a new view, which is almost like a Trello board. If anyone's ever used a Trello board before, this is a way that you organize your opportunities. So check this out. Here are my 18 people that might be listing a house with me, okay, that I've had conversations with about. So isn't this really helpful to look and say, hey, here's all the people in 2022 that I think might sell a home. And I'm going to show you how this board is set up and how we customize these. But I do want you to notice number 18 here is Sarah Duco. Okay. So watch this. So let's say I call Sarah and I say, hey, Sarah, great talking to you this weekend. You said you need to sell really quickly, right? So remember, here's your 5 topics we talked about on that pipeline view: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. When can we meet, Sarah? It does. Can you meet on Sunday at 10 a.m.?
Sunday at 10 doesn't work, but let's do Sunday at 1 p.m. Does that work for you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make 1 o'clock work. It'll be about a 45-minute appointment. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Great. I'm not going to spend my entire Sunday evening with anybody. All right. Set the expectation on how long the appointment's going to last. I'm going to move Sarah, okay, up, and check this out, right? All I did was click on that opportunity, and you can see now I get to move it around. I'm moving it. And I'm going to move it up into appointment, and I can just drop it into the appointment section. And now she comes out. I'm back to 17. And now I can come in here and I say scheduled appointments, and there's Sarah Duco. So you see how I'm starting to get organized here based on all my different conversations and what's going on?
Uh-huh.
I meet with Sarah and we have a conversation at 1 o'clock, and she signs my paperwork. And we'll go back to some of these things. I just want to go over this high level. And she goes, yep, absolutely. Let's get the property listed. Check this out, right? I can now move Sarah into active. Oh, I missed it. Okay, drop her into active. See, it's gone now. If I move over to active, there she is. Okay, and now I've got an active listing on 404 Dale Road and my pre-listing, and I can keep it all organized. All the while, my numbers are changing on that original pipeline view. So if I come back here now, notice my active says 2, right? And if I click on into that, there's Sarah. So it's an organizational, there's like a couple different pieces to it. You have to do it for compliance and for your documents, but you also can use this opportunities for organization and moving leads through a pipeline and getting efficient at doing that. Okay.
I don't see,
Yeah, I don't see it.
if she's supposed to be active and she's still in pre-listing, am I doing something wrong? Or listing?
No, so what I do is, and this is, all right, so let's go back to Cultivate and I'll answer that question for you. It's a good question. When you guys click on Cultivate, what do you see? What are the names of your boards in Cultivate?
Cultivate, watch, nurture. Let me see if I make it bigger.
Probably like not watch, nurture, hot, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone know what that means?
That's how you're working with them, how you're treating them.
Right. So like, to me, that's just like some made up terminology that they made up when they created the system, right? Or you might have seen that in a sales book somewhere. That's not the way my brain works. I don't think about like, I want to watch this person. All right. So here's the cool thing. You can change the names of those boards to match, right, the way that you want to run people through your pipeline. So here's the way I think of it. When I meet Sarah and I say, hey, when are you thinking about selling? And she says 2022, right? I wanted to make sure that I had a section here to put that in. All right. Now I haven't updated this for this year actually, because I don't really actually sell as much as this looks like. I wish I did. However, check this out. All right. And when you're in Cultivate up here, there's an edit stages button. And when you click on edit stages, you can then change the names of these boards. So let me do that. I'm going to show you an example of this. So you can see here we have 2022, 2021, hot. This is where yours would say watch, nurture, and hot. And all I did was change the name by clicking the edit button of the title of those boards. Okay.
Okay.
But we're in 2022 right now, right? So what I need to do is I probably need to delete out 2021. Okay, so I'm going to say delete that stage because that's over with. I'm not listing anybody who's home in 2021 unless, you know, I'm in Back to the Future or something. But I'm going to now add a stage, and I'm going to say that stage is going to be 2023. Okay, and click save. So now I've got these 3 boards. However, I want 2023. It kind of works in chronological order. So I want the furthest out to be first, going to the most recent of when I can work with a lead. And here's why. And some of you are probably like, what are we talking about here? I'm gonna go back for a second. Check this out now. Okay. So now this board says 2023. These all say 2022. And then these are ones that I know are really coming up hot that people are getting ready to list. Okay. So back into our role play, you know, I meet Kim out and about and I say, hey, Kim, what are you thinking about selling? And she says, hey, next year when my kids graduate from high school, I'm going to be graduating, or I'm going to be selling my house and I'm moving down to South Carolina. Great. Okay. So that could be Earl's, this opportunity here. I'm going to put Kim's opportunity in this section here. That way, when I follow up with her, I'm saying, hey, Kim, are you still on track for 2023? Right. Has anything changed? Right. So again, I can set up how I want to organize these different boards. All right. So to go back to Bill, to go back to your question, once I get my listing agreement signed and I move them over into active, this is what I've done. So my 3 boards in active to me is I have a signed listing agreement. It doesn't mean it's on the market yet, but I've got it signed, right? We can be coming soon. I can be getting ready for photos, etc. So I created 3 boards and I called them pre-listing, on market, and then this legacy board is actually created for agents that were using .loop. Most of you can ignore that. So what I did is I created this pre-listing board to know that I've got these listings coming up and I might have to do certain activities. And then once I hit the market, I can drag Sarah not out of active, just into the next board. And now I know I've got 1 coming soon listing and I've got 1 listing that's actually on the market doing showings.
Okay.
And then again, we'll go back to the paperwork aspect of it, but then Sarah gets an offer, right? And I negotiate that offer and we ratify an offer. And I know I'm skipping some steps there, but on this screen, I now can move Sarah forward to under contract, right? And I can then start to organize, what do I need to do to help Sarah's deal get from where it is right now to the closing table? All right, so just a high level look at how that opportunities pipeline works. Questions on that?
Yeah, what was legacy for?
So legacy was for, we used to use .loop, right? .loop was bought by Zillow. So Keller Williams got out of business with .loop for data purposes. That is, if you had loops that were in .loop when that transition happened, you could transfer those loops over into this system and they would show up in the legacy section. Then you can move them to where they needed to be. So it was like a depository for your loops. Okay. You can actually, so like I'm going to do this for real because I don't know what legacy means, right? When I'm active, I want pre-listing and on market. Those are the 2 things that I want. That's the way that I think about it. So again, now that I'm in the active section, I can click on edit stages and I can actually delete legacy. Say delete stage. Now I've got my 2. Now it's cleaned up, right? Now I don't even have a legacy board to mess me up or just create some confusion.
Okay, do you recommend eliminating the legacy title and putting in another one that suits your own needs?
Yeah, that's the great thing about this. Everyone can set this up differently, but Bill, like for you, absolutely. You could change that to say negotiations if you wanted to, right? So you could go from pre-listing to on market to you're negotiating, you're looking at offers, right? So you guys can add as many of these boards as you want under each section. It's just how complicated, right? Or how long. I know some admin that are like those high SC types of, personalities, and they've got like 9 boards, right? I've got 2. So you can create it whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's say we're here at active. Now I'm going to go back to the home screen. Let's kind of reset a little bit just because I want to show you some different things. So now we've created the opportunity, right? I've gone over and I've set an appointment to go meet Sarah. A couple days goes by, I get ready for my listing appointment. It's Saturday, let's say, and I want to go get ready for my appointment with Sarah. Now you could go to opportunities, right? And go find that opportunity and click into it. And that's how you get back to that details, documents, and commissions screen. Or just want to show you, this is a different way to do it. You could actually click on the contact record, right? So let's go into our contacts. I find this to be the easiest way. Once I have an opportunity set up, I will click on my contacts. I have my contacts sorted by date most recently added. So that way anyone new that I add to my database, I kind of see first. So as this loads up here, we're going to see Sarah is going to be at the very top. And then I'm actually going to click on her contact record. So there's Sarah right there, right? And I'm going to open her contact record. Now, when I open her contact record, you guys probably did this in a previous class. You went over this: timeline, opportunities, smart plans, tasks, notes, save, searches. But notice, because I have an opportunity created with her, what does it say right there? Right, opportunities 1. And I can now click on that opportunity, and there it is, right? Sarah Duco. It's showing me what stage, what phase it's under, what the commission is. And I can actually click right here on this listing, right there on the opportunity, and it'll take me back to that kind of mothership screen for the transaction, where I can get to Docusign, where I can get to compliance, etc. So just want to show you a different way to get to the opportunity is actually through the contact record.
Okay.
So any updates that you make to the contact in the contacts, does that automatically update anything then in the opportunities record?
Okay, so when we start a Docusign room, you're going to see a button here that says sync. And what can happen is if you do change information, it will not automatically happen, because, like, you might want a certain email that the signature goes to. Let's say it's like a trustee
Right.
situation, right? So it doesn't automatically do it, but there's a sync button where you can push it through and say, I want everything to update from the contact record, basically. Yep.
Okay.
Does everybody feel comfortable about how to get here?
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't, I want to stop for a second, because everything else we're going to do, like, you're really going to get lost if you don't know how to get to the opportunity details page. That's what we call it. Was everyone able to create an opportunity?
I started, but then I never finished because I couldn't see as good, so I was watching yours, but that's
Gotcha.
okay.
Okay. So just, if you want to do it that way, just keep following along and then go back and try to recreate. And if we've done our job today, you should be able to get through it somehow. All right.
And rewatch the recording. That'll help.
That'll help. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do one more thing in kind of opportunities, and then we're going to get ready to jump over to Docusign. So let's get back to our scenario here. It's Saturday. I want to get prepped and ready for my listing appointment with Sarah. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to come into this opportunity, and I'm going to go to documents, because I want to get my documents together to get her to sign a listing agreement. Okay. Now, before we get into this at a deep level, I want you guys to know I'm not your broker. Okay. So I'm going to answer some surface level questions. I am a broker. But if we have questions about what documents are required for your market center, because we're all over the region, we all have different documents. Okay. So I want you to just take a high level view of the way that this works, and things are going to look a little bit different because we all have different required documents. I clicked on the documents tab. Here I am right here. And the first thing you're going to see is, depending on where your office is, you might automatically see a checklist. Okay. My office is licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So because of that, I said it's a listing. And now it's saying to start work with an opportunity, please select the checklist type first. So right here, you see a drop down. It says, please check your checklist type. Go ahead and click on that. And again, it might already default for you, but mine on my office says Virginia, Washington, DC, and Maryland. So now I'm going to click on the jurisdiction, and I'm going to say Virginia, and it should come up to a screen that kind of looks like this. So I want everyone to kind of just select one of those drop down items. You might have 20 of them. You might have one. Okay. But I want you to get to a screen that looks like this. So if you're following along, this is where you should be. All right. Who knows what this is right here? What are we looking at? What is this list of documents?
It's all the contracts you have to have for the paperwork once you get a listing or get a sale.
Okay, so I want you guys to hear me loud and clear on this. This is your compliance checklist, okay?
Okay.
This is
Ooh,
not the
okay.
documents, okay?
Okay.
Now, they can be linked sometimes, but I just want you to think about this. This is what your office is saying to you. Hey, if you want to get paid, you must have these documents. That's what this is.
Okay.
The goal is that once we get our contracts and stuff signed in Docusign, and I'll show you how this works, we're going to be uploading all of our different documents here and turning this in and getting things approved. Okay. So you really have two checklists when it comes to a listing. Right over here, do you see where it says listed and under contract? Everybody see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the way a real estate transaction works is I need to get my listing agency paperwork signed first with Sarah, right? So I'm going to go over there, I'm going to meet with her, I'm going to get my listing agreement signed, I'm going to get my disclosure signed, right? Anything else that I need, that's all the paperwork that goes into the listed agency folder, right? Is the agreement between the seller and the brokerage. Everybody with me? Right? It's not one big thing. This is really broken up into two different sections. So it's a listing agreement between a seller and a brokerage. And that's these documents here, right? The listing agreement, the tax record, the residential property disclosure. Then I put a sign in the yard. I list my house. Then there is a second agency event, right? Or contract event, which is the purchase agreement, which is between a buyer and a seller. So two different parties, right? So you're going to go in. So this might happen 30 days before you upload this paperwork, right? But you want to make sure that you upload your paperwork when you get it signed. Is that clear to everybody? So two different agency events or two different contract events. Same thing with buyers. This is going to say consultation, which means buyer agency paperwork that they sign a buyer agreement. And then when you get that buyer a house and they finally ratify on a contract, this would be the contract that they ratified on or the property they ratified on. Questions? Everyone get those two folders right there. The closed folder, you're not going to put anything in it. Okay, that's where your office is going to upload the closing documents when the deal closes so that you have it for tax purposes or your accounting records, etc. All right. So think about these are the two that you're going to turn in. This is the one that your office is going to upload some documents into so that you have access to them. And that, so again, just strictly compliance up here. Now, guys, are there sometimes documents that go with a transaction that do not need to be turned into the office?
Yes.
Give me some examples of some documents that you might want to keep so that everything's in one nice little place in case your client needs something from you. What's a document that might be part of a transaction that does not need to be turned into the office?
Home inspection.
Home inspection. What else?
Lead paint, maybe?
Lead-based paint, if it did apply, would need to be in the folder. But a good separation here would be the documents around the contractual documents around lead-based paint need to be turned into the office. The inspection report, if one were to happen, that would be an extra document that we don't necessarily need to see, right? There just needs to be resolution between the parties. So the lead-based paint inspection report might go in there. Okay. The appraisal report might go in there. Invoices from contractors for work that needed to be done as part of the negotiation might go in there, right? So that if Sarah called me a year from now and said, hey, do you have that receipt from the HVAC contractor? I look like an all-star that I stayed organized, right? So where am I going to put all those documents? I'm going to put them right here into this custom folder. So I can create a custom folder within this opportunity, free storage. Think of this as like an iCloud, right? There's no limit. And I can come in here and I can just type in, receipts, right? If I want to stay organized and say, create a folder. And now I can actually upload different documents into this receipts folder and they'll be there forever.
Okay, I have a question. When we were back before, you said you didn't need 2020, I think it was, because those are over and closed. So do those go with all of these items into an archive so you can pull up a year later?
That's exactly correct. When we clicked on opportunities for the first time, some of you might have noticed it. It said Kyle Holleran pipeline, and then it said all opportunities, and it gives it to, list view, and you can recall this forever. Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Great question. Everyone clear on the folders over here on the left-hand side? Any questions on that?
I think I get it. Okay.
I think you can even upload like, doesn't have to be just PDFs. I think you can, or maybe it's just documents. Yeah, I've seen some people just add a file with links to photos, so if you can't upload the actual photos here, they're like in a Google Drive or something, you could add that link onto a document and save it as a PDF and always have the link to go back to the photos if they were saved in that capacity. So just an organizational thing, but that's your folders over here on the left. Okay. All right, how we doing?
Okay.
So
Good.
I'm at a spot now where I need to go now. I need to get my listing paperwork together to go meet with Sarah. So now we're going to start the dive into documents and Docusign. Everybody want to keep rolling? Do we want to take a 3-minute break? Where are we at?
I'm okay.
Okay, just we're going to keep rolling then, it sounds like. So here's what we're going to do. We can leave this now, okay? And what we're going to do is I want everyone to navigate with me. We're going to come back here. I'm going to test somebody on here. We're going to navigate and make sure your Docusign is connected. So some of you might have this done. Others of you might. This could be a stopping point for some of you. I can't really stop and make sure I can help you get your Docusign connected on the call here. But if there's an issue, just put it in the chat and then I'll follow up and we'll make sure we help you get your Docusign connected, right? So to do that, top right corner, click on your name. Go to settings. It would be helpful if I clicked settings versus just tell you to click settings.
Okay.
All right, it's loading up here. Now you can see mine is connected. All right, so this is kind of like, think of this almost like your app store. Everyone should see Docusign in their settings right here on this front screen without having to scroll anywhere. The difference is, does yours say connected, right? Or do you need to like activate your account or connect? So
Yeah,
who has a connected account?
Yeah, mine has an email, so I'm assuming yes, it is connected.
So it says connected right here,
Where's that?
right in the middle.
Oh, again, my screen.
That's why you look for that, Barb. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying mine says in progress, but
Yeah,
it
that's
does
what mine
say
does.
authorized.
Mine says in progress.
Okay.
I'm-
Is there
I'm connected.
was that Barbara?
I'm connected.
Okay, good.
The
ones-
email I was supposed to verify something.
Okay, so I'm going to share this with, let me find it really quickly, actually. It's in my favorites list here. Hold on. Bum, bum, bum. Here it is. Okay. I'm going to open this in a new tab. All right, so here's the situation. I'm going to walk you through because I can't see it. If you don't have it connected, it should say connect account. All right. Once you do connect account, it's going to ask you for a first name, last name, and an email address. And I suggest all of you use your KW email for this. If you have an old Docusign account or an account that you pay for, you cannot use the same email. It's not the same account. Okay, this is a special account with KW. Once you put that information in, you hit send registration email, and you should have received an email from Docusign where you're accepting the invite to Docusign. So for a couple of you, you're caught somewhere in this limbo, and you might need to go back and just make sure that you get logged in. You create a password when you do this, right? Accept invite. So you would have had your KW email, you would have created a password and created a security question, agreed to their agreement. And then when you come back, if it says in progress, you should be able to click that authorize button. Once you click authorize, there should be a pop-up that asks you to log in with the email and the password you created, accept their terms, and then boom, it should look like that.
Yeah, when I hit authorize, it says you must register your account in Docusign first.
Okay, so it means you haven't then answered the email.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to click on, I forget which one it says, but there should be like a resend, right? So I'll have to help you with that, but like, let me do this. I'm going to put this help article in the chat. If you're not connected here, I want you to follow this because this is like one of the best help articles actually, where it walks you through like step by step.
All right, mine says enter password, so
Mhm.
let me double check and see if I have it written somewhere. I don't know if I do or not. Okay, I'll look it up.
Okay, so we'll spend a minute here because if you can get connected, that would obviously be ideal. If not, just watch the recording here or the steps, and I can help you get connected at the end of the call. I don't think we're going to go all the way to 11 o'clock, so we can probably find 15 or 20 minutes at the end and have it. It's okay if it's your personal email. It just can't be an email that you've already used before. And I'm not a fan with the way that hacking's going on right now in the real estate industry. I don't want to use my personal email anymore because it's not encrypted. So if you use a free Gmail account or something, you should be using your KW account or something better, because if not, people can hack right into your email with those accounts. So try to get off of, and what happens, guys, is when you have a closing coming up, people will hack in and send wire instructions and change the wiring instructions. And they'll have everyone's name, the address from the transaction. It happens all the time. All right. So don't use a personal email if you can get off of it. My 2 cents. All right. So Docusign. I know some of you may not be connected yet, but we're gonna have to move on for the training, but make sure you get that link in there and go through and authorize, okay?
Get mine right now. Ooh.
Okay.
I just.
All right, who's up for a challenge?
What is your mother's maiden name?
All right, someone guide me through. How do I get back to the document screen where we saw the compliance checklist? Who thinks they remember the steps of how to get back there?
You go to the opportunities.
All right, so let's go back up, Bill. How do we get to the opportunity? Let's go all the way to the beginning.
You go to the homepage? No.
I'm on the homepage now.
Okay. So you go to contact?
Okay, I'm gonna go to my contacts.
Am I doing this wrong so far?
Nope.
Really? Okay.
I would feel bad if we are 54 minutes in and.
Okay, so then you go to your contacts, you see who's the priority for your day, which should be your decision.
All right, so let's say I'm looking for Sarah, right? That's the deal that we were working on. So I'm going to find Sarah. I'll click on Sarah.
And then do you go to your details or docs?
Okay, so remember now I'm in the contact card. I'm going to pull up the opportunity tab and I'm going to click on the opportunity, right? And that takes me to the details page. Okay, now once I'm in the opportunity for this deal, then I'm going to go to the documents tab.
Okay.
Okay.
So the opportunity is under the listings or under?
Yep, it was under listing, but I automatically got to it because we went through Sarah's name. All right.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm in the details page here, and we're going to navigate over to documents. That's where we were.
Okay.
Because I already selected a checklist, you're going to see it's going to be pre-selected. So there it is. Okay.
Okay. So
all right.
Then
so you're good. This is where I wanted you to get back to, and now I'm going to teach you the next part.
Okay.
Docusign is connected. I'm getting ready to go meet Sarah, so I need to get my paperwork. You should see a button right here. If your Docusign is now connected, you'll see this button that says start a transaction. And you'll see this the very first time you start this transaction. If you create what's called a Docusign room the first time, that button will change and it will then say go to transaction.
Did you just say Docusign room, ROOM?
Yep. And we're going to talk about the terminology here in a second. Okay. But just notice the very first time you come in here, if it says start a transaction, you're going to click that button. And again, if your Docusign's connected in settings, it should say Docusign and you're able to go click on Docusign. And now it's going to open a tab and have us move over into Docusign. I use the email address, right? So this is the account that we just signed in with. I'm going to use the email address and I'll put in my password. Okay. And you're able to change some security settings here. So you should be able to kind of quickly be able to log in. And now look what just happened. Okay. So this is what we're going to call a Docusign room. This is where we get all of our documents from our libraries. This is where we send everything out for signature. So you'll notice that it created a room called Sarah Duco, right? And all that information including the address, carried over from the command system. Everybody see it? Now look, if I go back now to command, notice it says go to transaction. You see what I'm saying here? The button is now changed. And so if I ever want to now go back into this room, this specific room, that's how I can get back here. Okay. But now these two things are talking to one another. And the reason why that's a big deal is because when it comes to compliance, you don't have to download anything. You can just pull in the documents because they're synced with one another. All right. So it's really important that you do it in that way and not just create a random Docusign room, which you can do. If you do it that way, it's not talking back to the opportunity. So it's going to cause some trouble down the line. Let's stop there. Creating a Docusign room. Questions?
So every transaction and every document along the way is going to have its own room?
Not every document, every transaction. So now everything that I need document-wise for 404 Dale Road is going to happen in this room.
Okay, so the next time you go back, if you've got, let's say, under contract, that's going to be in that room too?
Correct. Yep. So I can do my listing paperwork here. When I get offers on the property, I'm going to upload that PDF into Docusign room, make my changes on it, get signatures, ratify the deal, right? So yeah, everything happening, all the paperwork with 404 Dale is going to happen in this room. And I'm going to walk you through it. So we'll make sure that this picture looks good.
So it's going to go, the progression would be the contact, then the opportunity.
Yep.
Then whatever you do with that opportunity, if you move it to one of these necessary documents for transaction, that will be different for every single person you have.
Correct.
Every client. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So I run into Autumn and we have a conversation. I create the opportunity and then she says, hey, I want to go buy a house. I create the room for Autumn, right? I run into Robert. I create an opportunity for Robert. I create a room for Robert and all my documents with Robert are in that room. So all these things are, yeah, every deal has its own room and its own opportunity.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Docusign. Anybody in here use Docusign? Give me like a temperature on it. Like give me 0 to 10 and there's no wrong answer here. I just want to gauge where is everybody on like the KW Docusign system?
I guess I'm on maybe half of 1.01.
You're a fraction of 1.
Yeah, when I signed the agreement to come on board at Keller Williams, I had to have somebody do the Docusign for me.
Gotcha.
Because I had no idea what I was doing.
All right. Who else?
Yeah, I've used it a few times and I did get myself connected.
Okay, good. All right, so 4-0. Yep, thanks for the honesty. Very good. All right, so we're going to do a high level conversation here, okay? I'm happy to teach a bunch of I'm actually a Docusign certified trainer. So I can really help you guys with this and we can do a more in-depth class. I'm going to take a really like 101 approach to this today. Is that fair? I don't want to overwhelm anybody. And some of you guys are already looking at me like, what in the world are we doing? All right. So when we start a Docusign room, kind of the same thing over in command. I just want you to notice there's some different tabs here, right? There's details, documents, people, envelopes, messages, history. I don't want you to use this people tab. Okay. Don't use that. That's just the answer. Because what happens is it sends out an invitation to that person to join the room and you might be prepping documents for your Sunday meeting. I don't want Sarah to get an email from me. And if I add them as a person, they're going to get that email. So what you can do is in the details tab is where you're going to add some of the generic information about the transaction. All right. This information will then populate your forms. So I've got 404 Dale Road came over from command. Let's say seller 1 is Sarah. And I ask her, I do a pre-screening on my listing appointment. I can always click the edit button here. And Sarah says, yep, here's my email address. You look forward to meeting you on Saturday. So she says it's Sarah Duco at kw.com, right? She says, yep, I own my house with Evan Duco. So I can add in more people, right? So this is separate from command. I can add in details here that fill in the contracts. Someone had asked earlier about the legal name. Okay, so maybe Evan's legal name is not Evan and instead it's Alexander. Okay, so you can change it in the details of Docusign and it will reflect onto all of the paperwork. Okay, So details is where you're making some different edits and clicking save. Okay. And this information again is pre-populating the forms. Everybody understand details at a high level.
Uh-huh.
All right, documents is the main one here, guys. Okay. When you come to documents, for a lot of you, the rooms might be empty. What we just got the ability to do over in Command actually is you can see that we can now start mapping some of our documents over into the room. So I just started doing this for our offices. So actually, if it has a little DS symbol next to the name, that means that the agent needs that form. And so if it has that DS, what we're actually able to do now is make sure that that form automatically shows up in the room. You don't need to go hunting for it. All right. But for a lot of us, what we're going to need to do is then add in our forms that we need for the transaction. Anybody know how to add a form into this room so that we can use it?
I guess the add plus in the corner up there.
It was not a trick question. All right. So add. Okay. We're going to add from Docusign forms. Everybody should see that right there, right? It should say Docusign forms. And then it should pop up this little screen here. And then these are like your libraries. Okay. Now, again, guys, the entire region doesn't use Docusign. There are some markets where Docusign is not used. Is anyone in a market where they use Instanet or something like that primarily versus Docusign?
No.
Okay. The reason that happens is some of the forms providers do not give a license to Docusign to use the form. So they don't have a library, right? And that kind of obviously causes an issue. All right. Let me go back. I'm just going to do that click again. So I'm here, I'm in documents. I'm going to say I need a form. I click add from Docusign forms, brings me to this screen. Now, again, I'm part of a bunch of market centers, but you should just see a few different folders potentially, right? Groups of documents. And if you have groups here, what that means is that your office has gone in and they've actually pulled documents from the overall library and put them together into a little set for you. Okay, so if I was doing a listing, I could click on listing and it would show me, hey, here's the 4 documents that you need to do that listing. So these are pre-put together by each market center is the groups. Okay. So I could easily say, hey, I'm going to do a listing, click on select all, and then I can add those documents to the room. All right. So that's the group section. I want you to get used to, though, come down here below and you should see libraries, right? And in your libraries, you should see your association. So in my case, I'm in Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. That's one of my libraries. And you will also see your KW and your market center library, which might have some market center forms. Okay, so those are typically the 2 libraries that you're going to see.
And that's only if the marketplace put them in for us as a group.
So groups are done by the market center. Everyone should see that library, right? Everyone should see a KW library.
Okay.
Right. And so like in my case, we have a partnership with a mortgage and a title company like a lot of you guys do. And so these aren't NVAR forms. These are Keller Williams Fairfax Gateway forms. And so they're hosted in that KW 541 library. Okay. But if I needed my contract documents, those are all going to be in the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. And here's all of my different documents. Right.
Uh-huh.
Now, guys, every jurisdiction, this is what I'm saying, this is where it's going to get hard. And for some of you, just taking what you can on this, right? This is a lot of like really deep information. Like we could break all this up into its own 5-hour class, right? So don't get overwhelmed. Just try to stick a little with like the theory and then we can nail down the details. But in every jurisdiction, there's a set of forms that are needed for a listing. So I could come in here and I could say, oh, I need to go get the lead-based paint addendum. So you can see what I'm doing here is searching that library and I'm able to find my lead-based paint disclosure, right? And I could say add selected.
I had a quick question.
Yep.
With the Docusign thing, just kind of going back to it, I had gone through the email. I did I created a password, all that type of stuff, but it stuck saying, not connected, current status. And then when I hit connect account, it has I can have to hit login here, log in the Docusign using the email address, and then it doesn't connect. Is there like a delay or a lag or something between doing this? Because it's been like 5 minutes or so.
There shouldn't really be that big of a lag. So are you getting the actual DocuSign sign-in screen?
When I'm on the KW settings, you know, where
Yeah.
we've gone, I hit the connect account.
Right, but
and
does it actually pop up with like a yellow and blue DocuSign login screen?
No, that happened. I have that separate. And it says just click here to authorize.
Yep.
Congratulations, you only have one step left using
Right.
DocuSign, click link below to authorize. I clicked that and it went from like pending authorization to just not connected.
Okay. I'll have to like, I don't know the answer right now. And
No
I
worries.
don't, yeah.
I'm sure I
But
can
let's
talk
get
to
on to
you
the
about
end, but sometimes there's a pop-up blocker around DocuSign login. Make sure you have a
Okay.
pop-up blocker on. That's sometimes a case of why people get stuck there.
Cool. I'll look into that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. So lead-based paint disclosure, like I said, I need to add that form. I click add selected, and now you see it goes into that room. So that's how I go and I pull in which documents I need for my listing appointment. Okay. Questions? Let's take a pause here because that's a lot of information of creating an opportunity, and now we're getting into, you know, actual contract documents. No questions here? Okay. All right. So now what's the next step here, guys? So I just brought the documents from the library into my room. What's like kind of the next logical step of like what I need to do in this process?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was reading the chat.
Complete the documents.
All right, Aaron got it. Yeah. So what's the next logical step here? Which is going to be, we're going to complete the documents, right? We're not sending them out for signature yet. We need to fill them out. All right. So the easiest way to do that is you're going to click on the document itself. Okay. So I'm going to click on exclusive right to sell. And it's going to open up right here. And all these boxes are now editable. Okay. And this is where you're actually going to start filling out the listing contract. Now, some of you are going to use Central Virginia forms. Some of you are using Rain. Some of you are using, you know, Charlottesville, Lynchburg. Like, you guys all have different forms, right? So these are my Northern Virginia Association of Realtor forms. Okay. Now, what do you notice here as soon as I open up this document? What are you guys noticing here?
It already has some stuff filled in.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So notice it's got seller one name, and that's pulling from the details. It's got Alexander, that's pulling from the details. My firm pulls the address. So you see where, like, if I did a little more work on the front end, how much faster it is to like write a listing agreement. Okay. So now you're the agent. Again, I'm not your broker, so I'm not going to stop and ask broker questions, but I'm going to come in here. This is the date. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say it is what, 3/10/2022. All right. I'm actually going to start typing out my listing agreement. So I've got my address. I might need some information off the tax record, my seller information. Notice this has nothing to do with signatures or initials. This is you, the agent, filling out the listing agreement. And I'm certain that you guys probably have contract training that you can go to that shows you how to fill out these documents in your area. Okay, everybody with me? But all these documents should be clickable. So all these little buttons, seller is or is not. So you got to be, you know, you're just going to take your time. And then when you get good at this, like, guys, I can write a listing agreement in 7 minutes. For some of you, it's going to take 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You will get better at it. It's okay. All right. The goal, though, is I want you to be writing out listing agreements. So go ask your brother or sister if you can be a guinea pig, and I want you to go through this process, because then when someone says, hey, I'm looking to sell my house, you're not sitting there going like, oh my gosh, I got to get paperwork together, right? You don't realize that subconsciously you are letting deals leave because you don't know what you're doing. Okay. So it's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. All right. So get into these trainings and keep watching this DocuSign stuff so that you can get it.
So as long as if you were to do a fake one, as long as you don't press save and close, then you're good.
I can hit save and close. I can send it to my sister and say, hey, sign that agreement like it's real. And just, it's not a real agreement, right? We'll leave out some terms, but, like, you know, it's good to know the entire process so that you can tell your clients, hey, you're going to get an email from Docusign and you're going to click sign, right? Like, I want you guys to go through mocks of this, even with each other. Just link up with each other, right?
Okay.
And say, hey, and if you guys want to in the chat, just say, does anyone want to do that with me? Jump on together and say, hey, I'm going to write an offer or write a listing agreement like you're the seller, and then you can do it to me. And you guys get to see both sides of it, and we can compare notes, and we'll answer the questions and then check off that box of the next thing that you need to do.
Oh, okay. I thought once you got to this point, it like went in the system and your team leader and broker and all that saw it. So, okay.
Oh no, I probably sent listing agreements to like everyone that I worked with and then my brother and sister 5 times over, right? Like I just, until I knew that, okay, now I'm going to go do it on a real person. So like, and
that's
same
so
thing
good.
with like my mobile app, like all that stuff I send to my brother and sister and just say like, hey, can you like some properties on this so I can see what it looks like? And that way I'm able to speak intelligently about it to my clients. So I'm going to find some guinea pigs for all of this stuff as you're learning this process.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. I see a couple raised hands. What are some questions you guys got? Aaron, did you have a question?
Yes. Are you familiar with the Remarkable tablet?
Yes, I am.
Can that be used for client signatures and stuff like that?
I think you could do that. I think with Remarkable, what you would have to do is you fill out these documents. You can save them as a PDF.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And then they could use the pen and sign them.
Stuff like that should be okay if I had that with me. Say I'm doing something in person with a client.
Yep. When everything gets signed on Docusign, everything becomes a PDF, right? So the ultimate goal is to get a signed PDF, whether that's through Remarkable or Docusign, up to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Great question. Now, everyone go look up what Remarkable is because you'll want it. And then the ads will follow you around Facebook all day long. It's like a tablet. It's pretty cool. All right. So I fill out the documents. Everybody good? Now, here's one thing I'm going to tell you, and this is a little bit of a shortcut. I'll show you. You can actually create a template of each of your documents. All right. So that you go in one time and you fill out your listing agreement and put in all of your brokerage information, right? Check off some of the boxes that would normally happening, right? So, you know, hey, I want to be able to make sure I put a lockbox in the property. You can actually do this one time, save it as a template. And that way, every time I do a listing agreement, I can apply my template. And now I'm just having to put in the blanks that are specific to the property and save yourself all that time of typing in that information over and over again. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do you do that?
All right, cool. So I'm going to clear out of here. I'm going to hit save and close, and make sure you hit save and close, not the X mark. You click X mark, everything you just typed in there is gone. So make sure you hit save and close, and then everything will stay that I just typed in. All right. So check this out. Up top, you have a My Docs section right up top here. Okay, there's 4 main tabs. I'm going to click on My Docs. And under My Docs, you will see there's a section, a little tab here. It says Form Templates. Everybody see it? Click on Form Templates. And now, right up the top, you should see a little blue button. It says Create Form Template. And just like when I added a document, you just go into the library and select the document you want to make a template of, type in all of your information, and you just save it, right? It's just not applied to any one client. It's just an overall template that you've created. And you can do that for all of your forms. Any form in the library, you can do that for. And you should absolutely do that. Because I can write an offer, like legitimately in a market like this. I don't want you guys going home on a Sunday, spending 3 hours writing an offer when you're one of 18, right? You're going to lose a couple of those most likely throughout the process. So you got to be able to write an offer in 10 minutes. And by having templates, that's what allows you to do it. All right. So I say create form template. I choose it. And then you create the template. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but everyone get how you get here and how you create a template, and hit save.
I have one more question. Like the people that have assistants that work with them, they're able to access this, and that's like legal to do that, correct?
Yeah, there's a difference between licensed activity and non. We can get into another discussion about that. There is a way though, that if you have like a licensed admin or somebody who's allowed to do paperwork, that they can be added into the room, and they do have access to this for the agent. So yes, that is possible.
Okay, I thought so. Okay, thank you.
Typically, I just can't have like my brother who's not licensed get access to these forms, right? These are protected through a licensee. That's why we go get a license. So yeah, certain people can get in here, but not everybody.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So look what I'm going to do here. I'm actually going to go back to command, right? Here's the opportunity. So a couple things. I just did the template. So I'll just show you. I can go back and just click on like rooms up top here, and it's going to give me like all of my rooms within Docusign. Okay. And I'm going to look for the one that says Sarah, so I can go back into her deal. So there it is right there at the top. I have mine sorted by date created. So there's my deal for Sarah. All right. And now it brings me back into the details tab. So I'm going to go back to documents. Okay. So now I'm back to where we just were a minute ago. Everybody good? So if you have a template, you can either right click the document, and you'll see there's a little button there that says apply the form template. And then boom, there you go. All your brokerage stuff is in there. Now you got to open it. So hopefully between all the template information and then Sarah Duco's name and her email address and the address all coming over from command, now we're just putting in like dates, right? Like simple information, right? And then send it out for signature. It should be like 90% complete at that point. Is that helpful? Okay. All right, so this guy's like right now I only have 2 documents in here, but let's say for let me add a couple more here. I'll say, so let's add a couple more. I'm gonna say Docusign forms. All right, and I'll go into one of my groups here, or you could also go into a library. And I'm gonna say the DPOR disclosure and useful information. So I'm gonna add those 2 more. And there's 4 documents. So again, ask your broker if you don't know which documents are needed. That's a broker question to your office. You end up with 4, 5, whatever that number is going to be. So I filled them all out. Right now they're all filled out. What's the next step in the process?
Getting signatures.
Okay, getting them signed, right? So I go over, so what I could do is I could go meet with Sarah. We have a conversation and she says, okay, we all agree to a listing price, right? So maybe I fill out everything and I save it so that after I meet with Sarah and we agree to work together, all I have to do is come in here and type in the listing price into the document, right? Like I might leave that blank. And once I put in that listing price that we've all agreed to, the next step would be is to obviously send it out for signature. Okay. So like, let me come in here and let's just say price. So we leave this one blank until we have our meeting on Sunday at 1 p.m. And I come in and I put 509, right? Okay, now there's the price. I hit save and close, and now everything is filled out. Docusign, guys, is very literal in the way that you get signatures. All right, so it's just like using the mail system, like the USPS, okay?
You missed the whole section on making templates, which you would do want to do. All right, well, we can always.
All right, so what we're gonna do is, let me imagine I have these 4 documents sitting on my desk. All right, I want you to think of it literally because it'll help you with the technology. Do I need to send all 4 of these out for signature from my seller? Let's say the answer is yes. So what I'm going to do is I can either click select all here, and you see it checks off all 4 of them, or if you don't need them all, you can check off which ones you need. So in this case, I need all 4 of these. Okay. Now, if this was literal through the USPS, I pick up these 4 documents. What's the next thing that I would do? Like literally step by step.
I guess an action.
Put them in. Put them into what?
Into your folder.
Into an envelope. Okay, so I'm just trying to get to the terminology. So next, what we're going to do is in Docusign, once you select them, this little toolbar shows up here. Okay, so notice when I did not have anything selected, that toolbar is not there. Okay, see it's gone. Once I select documents, I get a set of actions, and one of them, which is the pen icon right here, is create envelope. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, put all 4 of those documents into what's called an envelope. And then all I have to do is just basically address it, say who needs to sign, and then I send it out for signatures. Okay, so step 1 was to add the documents. Step 2 was to fill the documents out. Step 3 was to add them into an envelope. And so now we're at this step, right? So now I put them into an envelope, and all we're going to do is basically here is like we're addressing it. All right, so who needs to sign this? So this is a very important part. I want everyone to kind of listen to me on this one. Here are the 4 documents that I need signed by my client, Sarah. And notice they're in a certain order. Let's say you want them to show up in a certain order though. So let's say I wanted my useful information to be first. You see how I can drag and drop these documents here? I can reorder them. Whatever order they're in is the order in which Sarah will see them to sign them. All right, so a little tip and trick there. Okay, so a lot of times what I want is my listing agreement first and then all of my disclosures. So I was just showing you how you can arrange your documents. Anybody lost on this part over here? Are we still good?
Good.
Okay. This is like the most important part of the day. This is where everyone gets stuck. And this is where everyone calls me on a Sunday. This will save you a lot of time.
Can we do this with, fake opportunities like this as much as we want, and it's
100%.
not going to hurt anything with the like we can fill all this out and do all of it and it won't have any negative effect, right?
Absolutely. I will tell you what you can't do that will cause a headache for the market center, but all of this you can absolutely go do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Even to the point, guys, where most of us have like a personal email and a KW email, right? I'll send it to myself over and over again. Like I'll make my one email address a buyer or seller, and I'll use my KW email as the agent, and I'll literally will send it back and forth to myself to learn the process and see how it shows up on the other side. So good question. Yeah, that's what I did. And the more you do that, the more confident you will be that like this will not be an issue for you.
Perfect. And you said you will go over later what not to do to keep it from being a headache for the marketing center, right?
Yep, I'll tell you, do not do this if you're playing. Yep, if you're kind of doing a thing. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. So right here it says add recipients to the envelope. Okay. Now notice these are all blue forms that we filled out that we could type into. What that also means is we know exactly where all of the initials and signatures need to be. Okay. So unless you want to add an extra hour of time, when you click this drop down here, if you're using blue forms, I want you to use pre-tagged roles. That will drop all of the initials and signatures on the document for you. If you select room participants, right, it's going to be blank and you have to drop all of those initials on every single page. All right. Now on a PDF, let's say you uploaded a PDF of some sort and you would have the actual PDF icon rather than this form icon up here. We don't know where initials need to be on a PDF. So you're always dropping initials and signatures on the document if it's a PDF, but if it's a form, take advantage of the pre-tagged roles. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
If I had a PDF and I had like the remarkable, could I go through once and like pre-initial and everything and then kind of save a template that has the initials in the proper spot for that PDF?
I think so. Yeah, that's something actually I'd be happy to look at with you. I've never done it on Remarkable, but I think it should be possible. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Pre-tagged roles. I clicked on that. So here is showing you, okay, on all the documents, those 4 documents you have in the room, here's all of the potential people that have a spot to sign. Does that make sense? Who do we want to sign this document?
Seller.
Okay. So I'm going to check off. I need this to go to seller 1, or I want to use that seller 1 role. And then notice over here, it says recipient, right? Click the drop down and I'm going to find Sarah's name, right? From the details section with her email. So I'm saying I need Sarah to sign and she's seller 1. Who else needs to sign?
If there's another person on it or you.
Okay. So I think in our example, we used, we had a seller 2.
Evan or something, I think.
And it was Evan who had the legal name of Alexander or something crazy like that, right? So I'm going to say Alexander. Okay. So those are the 2 people that are checked off. I don't have a buyer yet. There's no seller 3 or 4, et cetera, et cetera. Now, sometimes like in my lead-based paint disclosure, the listing agent needs to sign that. So sometimes there's things that we as an agent need to sign. So I can click listing associate and then click on my name. Okay. So you should all be in every single room as well. So that's what it might look like. I want to get buyer 1 or seller 1, seller 2, and listing associate. That's what I want to have signed. And leave all the rest of them blank. And then I click add selected. And you'll notice now it's going to say, okay, as the sender, you're automatically going to receive a completed envelope. But here's the 3 people that are going to sign. I've got Sarah, I've got Alexander, and I've got Kyle.
Do you generally include yourself on all of them just to have kind of be in the flow, or do you just only if it's something you need to sign?
You don't need to, because if it was just these 2, let's say, I get an email when it's completed. So like I get notified like when it's done. I don't really need to like get myself in the middle of that and prevent.
Yeah, it's not like CCing yourself on an email or something, just to be part of it. It'll notify you. Okay.
Now look, because I didn't put Alexander's email into the details page, I'm missing it here. So I would need to put that in. Okay, so let's imagine we do Alexander Duco at gmail.com. Okay, so I could always fill that in or change the email address. So if Sarah said, hey, I don't have access to this email, can you send it to a different one? You could also edit hers if you needed to. Now, last thing, you guys see these numbers, 1, 1, 1. Those numbers mean in what order are people going to receive the document. So if I left it as 1, 1, 1, everyone would get it at the same time. Okay, or I can do it in order. So I can say 1, 2, and 3. And so that way, when Sarah finishes signing, then this person gets the email. 1, 2, 3. So this would be Sarah signed. When I got it, I would see Sarah's signature. After I signed it, Alexander would see both our signatures. Does that make sense? If everyone gets it at the same time, you don't see anyone else's signature. Everything is blank to you. Okay, so that's just the order. Questions? That's really the hardest part. Okay,
You
so
have
if
to
were
put 1, 2, 3, right? You have to make an order, correct?
well, it defaults to 1, 1, 1.
Uh-huh.
So,
So
if
if
it
you left it
defaults
at 1, 1, 1, that'd be fine.
it'd be fine. Just when that shoots out, like Sarah sees it, it looks blank. When Alexander sees it, it looks blank. If you do it in order, that signature will stick, and the next person will see the signature. So it depends on what the cadence or what the situation might be. But in some cases, some people want to see, like, I want my wife to fill it out and sign it first, and then come to me, or vice versa. There's different reasons, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
1, 1, 1 is fine unless there's a reason why you want it to be in order.
Okay.
That would also matter if it was like the property disclosure, because that matters which order it's signed in legally.
Right. Yeah. So like in this case, luckily there's no buyer signing it, right? But like in this case, like we need the sellers to sign it before the buyer. That's what matters. But if everyone was signing it at one time, you're exactly correct, Barbara, which really shouldn't happen, by the way. We shouldn't all be signing the disclosure at the same time. But in that case, sellers would want to sign first, then the buyers, so that there's a timestamp showing that there was something disclosed, right? Versus everyone signing at the exact same time. We can go down a rabbit hole on that one. All right. All right. So name of your envelope. We have our documents here, and then who needs to sign. You can write a little blurb down here. Hi, Sarah. This is the listing agreement that we talked about. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And you can also edit the subject. So I could say listing agreement 123 Main Street. And that's just what she sees when that email comes through. So some of you had mentioned on here, your office did onboarding paperwork with Docusign. So you received that email, right? That would have said, please Docusign, with a little blurb there potentially. That's where you put that in. Last step here, we're going to go to next. Okay. And if you use pre-tag roles, this should just be like a piece of cake. We're just checking it real fast, and then we're moving on. So now what it's going to do is it's going to bring in the form. It's going to drop in all of the initial and signature boxes on it. You're going to check it, make sure everything looks accurate, and then you're going to go ahead and click send. Okay. So you can see this is all the stuff I typed in, including 310. If I zoom out here, I don't like to see it this big, so let me zoom out. I can zoom in a little further than that. All right, there's my document. As I scroll down to the bottom, there's my two initial boxes. You see them? Two different colors. Top left corner up here, you see Sarah's name. Sarah's yellow, Alexander is like a light blue, and I'm purple. So we're all color coded by individual. All right, so there's my initials in the bottom of page 1. There's my initials in the bottom of page 2. And remember, all of these things should already have been done and checked off on before we put it into the envelope when you filled it out. I just didn't do it. Okay, initials are there. I keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. There's all our initials. Great, great, great. 10 of 12, 11 of 12, and then here's our last page, right? So there's initials that look like this, and then there's also signatures and date signed. So again, because you're using pre-tagged roles, all of those things are automatically dropped in there, right? That was the listing agreement, and then notice it's all in one big PDF. So now here's my useful information, right? These were the other documents that were in that envelope, so they're all put together. And then if I go into my lead-based paint addendum, right? Here's my initials, and then whether or not, these things need to be filled out, right? And then here, right, is my signature. So that's where you see all three of us, because I need to sign that document there. Okay. So all you're doing is you're really just looking at this to make sure everything looks correct. If it does, you click send, and it goes out to your client, and now they get that email saying, hey, can you please sign the listing agreement? And that's when they go through and they're actually signing. And then I'll show you what it looks like when everyone signs and it comes back to you. It then becomes ratified. All right, questions on this screen here?
I'm sorry, I had to leave the room for a moment, but you've done all these documents and you want to send it to Sarah. How do you send it to her? I missed where that goes, where you move to.
You're muted, it looks like.
I'm muted right now.
No, Kyle is.
I'm sorry, I coughed and I muted myself. what you're going to do, Bill, and we can go back and watch the recording on this one, but what you do is you select your documents and you put them into what's called an envelope, and that's what we're working in right now. So that's the step you missed there, is creating an envelope.
Okay, so you've created the envelope, and then how do you get it to her?
So now I just selected her as the person that needs to sign it, and what we're doing is we're just previewing this is what it looks like. And if I click send, it would then send out, it would email out to Sarah in Docusign format. She would receive an email and it would say, all right, you can go through and start clicking through and signing. Now, here's what it looks like to Sarah. This is what I love this. You can go up here, there's a recipient preview. All right. And I can actually select, okay, if I'm Sarah, what does it look like to me? Right. So this is what it looks like to her. She gets a little portal. She clicks start. It's going to bring her down to the bottom here. Now notice there's not two initials because this is Sarah's view. It's no longer color coded. So she just sees that she needs to sign here, clicks and signs, clicks and signs. So you can actually look at it like Sarah would. Just gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And again, if everything looks like it's in the right spot, which it should be if you're using the pre-tagged roles, then you can actually go ahead and click send, and it'll actually send out to get the signatures.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we send this out for someone to sign, if they miss something where there's an initial or whatever, will it not let them send unless all the fields are completed?
That is correct. If there is an assigned field, now there can be an initial that's optional. So sometimes like we don't know whether or not there's lead-based paint. Sometimes that initial is like optional, right? But anything that's required, yes, they cannot click finish until they make sure they sign everything.
Okay, great.
And it actually, when you click finish, if there's something that's not done, it'll actually zoom you right back up to the page where you missed something, and it'll bring you like right to that initial, and then you can click it and then click finish. So it's a really, DocuSign's really, really good for the consumer. I think it's a very easy product for them to sign things on.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I then go ahead and click send. Now I'm going to show you, let's say I also could do this, right? I could do all of this and get everything set up and ready to go. And what I want to make sure I show you here is, you know, if you're adding initials or signatures or anything, you can always save the envelope. Okay. I could hit save and close. So if I'm ready to send it for signatures, I could do that. Let's say I haven't gone to Sarah's house yet. I could even create the envelope and have everything ready to go. And if we get to the house and Sarah says, great, I'm good with 505 as our listing price, I could literally open up my laptop, come to my envelope, open it, and then hit send, right? So I could kind of even prep everything, you know, so that when I'm at the listing presentation, I can actually send it out and I'm not going through the process of creating an envelope, selecting pre-tagged roles. I could do all that ahead of time. Just depends on the flow of the appointment. All right. Everybody semi-clear on rooms and envelopes? Does that make sense? All right.
Yes.
So kind of the last few steps here we'll go over today, and then I can kind of help do a little bit of troubleshooting, and hopefully this is, again, giving you a decent overview of how this works. So when I send things out for signature, I'm gonna send this out for a signature. I'm gonna create a new envelope, but I'm just gonna send it to myself so that you guys can see what this looks like. Let's just do those 3 documents. I'll do all 4. Create an envelope. So this is what I did, Bill, if you missed it. So I selected my 4 documents. I hit create an envelope. And you can have multiple envelopes for a deal. So you might have one and it was prepped and ready to go and you've got to kill it. You can like delete an envelope if you haven't sent it out yet.
Okay. I did get that this time. Thank you.
Good. All right. So there's the 4 documents. So this time what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to do pre-tagged roles, seller 1, but I'm going to make myself just because this is actually a real email address where the others aren't. I'm just going to send it to myself like I'm seller 1, right? So I click next. All of my initials are going to be on every page because I'm using pre-tagged roles like I explained. And then I'm going to go ahead and click send. So let me just let it load up. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So now when I click send, it now says, right, usually it says waiting on signature. Now in my case, because I'm the only one that needs to sign, it's telling me that it's waiting on me. But oftentimes you can actually click on this and see if people have signed. So if you had 3 people waiting, it'll actually show you that Sarah signed and now we're waiting on Alexander, right? You can actually see who we're waiting on for signatures. But in this case, I'm going to open this and I'm going to click sign because it's looking for my signature. This is basically what your consumer sees when they open the email, is this portal right here. So it's saying, all right, let's go ahead and continue. They come in and they're actually going to go through and sign the contract, right? You can see my initials and my signature are going to show up here. Sign, 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 finish. Okay. So Sarah does that, then Alexander does that, right? The agent would sign if they need to. Once everybody's signed, it then looks like this, which is completed. All right, so we now have a completed envelope. And then check this out, in the documents section, we still have the forms. So if something changes, we could always go back and edit those forms. But now you're going to see we've got the 4 signed copies with this green check mark. So it's very easy to see which one is signed. So I've got that one signed, that one signed, that one signed, etc. Okay. So that's what it looks like when things come back as completed when we're looking for signatures.
And the blue ones are just the exact same documents unsigned, correct?
Unsigned documents. And so here's what I do for you can delete them out of the room. I like to keep them just in case I need them later, but I don't really want to see a copy of them if I don't really need them. So again, when I selected some documents, I showed you we were able to click on a few of these documents. One of your other tools that you could use in that toolbar up there is a tool that says archive, right? And I could say, okay, archive these documents. Now they're still in the room, but I'm defaulting in my documents tab to only seeing active documents. So I like this view. It's very clean. I know what those 4 documents are. But I could always go back and toggle and say, show me archive documents, and unarchive them and continue to work on them. So I
that
prefer
way,
to
if you needed
archive
to
versus
like
delete.
adjust it and get something re-signed, you could pull out the archive document, make the adjustment, and then do
Send
that.
it back out for signature. Exactly.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. That's what signed documents look like. All right. So is everyone kind of following the flow here? Any questions up to this point? We're going to go over the last step, which is going to then be sending these documents back to the market center and like how we upload them to the office.
I just wanted to mention really quickly, it was a pop-up blocker that was keeping my Docusign from being connected. So if anybody else is having a problem with it connecting, check your pop-up blockers.
Very good.
So I think you're going to address this next, but they've signed it, and how do they get it back to you? Do they just
all they do is sign it. When they sign it, you get an email that says it's completed, and you know that it's been done. Like they don't have to communicate with you and say, hey, Bill, I signed it. You'll get an email when everyone finishes signing that tells you that.
Okay, that was my question. Good.
All right. Yep. All right, so now everything's signed by everyone that needs to sign it. Now we need to upload it to our office, right? Where do we need to go back to?
Documents.
Yep. And what system? Are we going to leave Docusign? Yes.
Okay.
Where are we going back to? What's the other half of the sync? So Docusign is talking to what?
Command.
Command. So we're going back to command. Right? We're in Sarah's opportunity where we spent the first hour and 10 minutes of the class or so. Now we're in the listed folder here. Okay. And so now what we need to do is we need to turn in our listing agreement and our property disclosure and useful information and lead-based paint addendum, those 4 documents that we have, right? And turn them into our office so that we can get a check off from the broker.
Yes.
So check this out, right? You have a couple options here. Where do you want to attach the files from? Are they in Docusign in the connected room? That's one option. Or do you want to upload them manually from your computer? So Aaron, if you're using Remarkable or something like that, they might be on your computer as PDFs, not in the Docusign room when they're completed.
That makes sense.
So you choose where they're coming from. Now I'll say Docusign. Now I can go over here and say, let's go into the room docs folder, and then check this out. I do not need to go into Docusign and download any of these forms, okay? Because they're talking to one another. So if I select that they're in the folder, I can say listing agreement, and it brings up all of my signed documents, and there's my listing agreement. And I just click on it and it brings it in from Docusign for me. No downloading. I need my residential property disclosure. There it is right there. Select it and there it is. I need my useful information form. Click the drop down. There it is. And I need my lead-based paint addendum. Click it. There it is. That's why it's great to have these 2 things talking to one another. It saves me a lot of time and a lot of downloads. I don't need to do that. Okay. Now, for most of you, if you go to your MLS, that's where you can search tax records. Okay, so if I went and I grabbed the tax record for this listing, I could upload that as a PDF, right? So I can actually toggle and say, okay, those 4 have been connected. Now I need to go in here and I'm going to grab a document. Let's say it's this one here. Let's just say it's this one here, right? And I upload that. Now I brought in my tax record as a PDF from my computer. So I can use both of them, but ultimately I've got to, again, complete what my broker wants me to complete.
And where did you get that PDF that you go back that one step, please, about the taxes?
Okay, so I use Bright MLS. Okay, everyone has different MLSs, but on every MLS, you should be able to search tax records.
Right.
So all I would do is I would go to the MLS and I would search for the addresses tax record and download it onto my computer as a PDF.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's not in Docusign. So I would switch from my source and I would say, show me everything that's like I can pull in from my computer. And that's where I pulled in that document from, which would be the tax record.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's say everything's done. Everything's complete the way it needs to be. This is your button right here. So this is how you turn it into your broker. All right, so I'm going to hit submit to Market Center. And once I submit it to the Market Center, this folder will say submitted, which means now the broker gets a notification and they're saying, hey, broker, check my paperwork, make sure everything looks good. All right, so if you're waiting on them, that's what it looks like. It says submitted. All right, and guys, I could do that on Monday or Tuesday once I get everything signed by Sarah. Even if we're not going to the market for another week or two, upload your paperwork and make sure your broker gives you the go-ahead. So that way they're not holding your check when the check comes in, that they're waiting on a paperwork issue. Like just get it done and move on to the next thing.
I'm guessing the submit to Market Center is the step you shouldn't do if you don't want to cause a headache for them.
You got it. Thank you, Aaron. At least you're looking out for me. So exactly that. You could practice uploading these documents all day long. Once you hit submit to Market Center is when we get alerted that there's an action that we need to take. So you could do everything we've done up until this moment and then take a break there, right? And don't actually submit it. Or tell your broker, your compliance broker, you're going to practice it, right? And they're looking for, and they know that when all these documents are blank or don't have actual signatures on it or isn't a real property, you're not going to get in trouble. All right. Now, I'm a compliance broker for my offices. So I'm going to actually be able to show you guys what this looks like kind of behind the scenes. And so I'm going to go over into my Command MC, which is something you guys don't have access to. This is a leadership portal, unless you're leadership. I'm going to click on opportunities. And the broker then would be able to see that we have some compliance requests. So I'll let it load up for a second. And I'll say compliance requests for the Fairfax office. All right, and if I scroll down here, I should be able to find my name with what the file I just turned in. There it is, right? So 404 Dale Road with Sarah Duco was turned in. The broker has a chance to review this. Okay. And so the portal looks very similar to kind of what you guys see. And the broker is able to then look at all these different documents. Okay. So they're going to look through, they're going to make sure all the signatures are on there. They're going to say, great, good job for filling that out properly. And they can approve that document. I'll go to the next one. I'm just going to approve these for the sake of the class today. Now they could also reject it. Okay. So if you're missing something, if you're missing an initial somewhere and they review it and they feel like you need to go back and get that initial, they can reject the document as well. But the goal is to get everything approved. And then what they will do is they will change the status of the folder to approved.
If rejected, is there usually a note that will come along with that, like kind of letting us know why? Okay.
Yep. So if there is a rejection for whatever reason, they will usually communicate that with you, and you'll see a little bubble next to the approved or the rejected, and it'll tell you what needs to be fixed. And then you would fix it and resubmit. Now, I'm going to jump back over to Command. So now I'm going back over to the agent view. Remember, guys, if you have the KW app downloaded, right, which you should have, I just got a notification on my phone that says your compliance request for Sarah Duco has been approved. So you get a notification to your app, and in Command, there's this little bell icon up here. If you click that bell icon, I have a notification. That's what it means with a little red dot there. And it's saying, hey, your compliance request for Sarah Duco has been approved. Or it might say it's been rejected. And you can actually just click on the notification and it'll take you right into the compliance checklist so you can fix whatever needs to be done so that you can knock that out and move on to the next thing.
I'm guessing you're talking about the KW Command app, not the retail side, the
Correct. So there's an app for the agents, right? A KW command app, and then there's the KW for the clients, which is like a search app, like a Zillow.
They had us download the client one too, so I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yep. So I got it on the agent app, and then this is what it looks like, approved. Okay. Now I get my pictures done. I go and I list it on the market. I get 27 offers. We pick one for $20,000 over list price. I would repeat that process again, and that's where I'm going to upload the contract between the buyer and the seller, right? And then I'm going to resubmit the under contract and hopefully get approval on that. So that way, when your check gets in terms of compliance, if this says approved and approved, that's when the office can cut you your check and you're good to go. All right. If either one of these say rejected or have not been submitted, the broker can't release the check until we make sure we have all the documentation for the transaction. Right. So that's the ultimate goal, is approved. All right, that's the life cycle, guys. I know that was a lot. I mean, I know a lot. That was a lot of information, but we started with creating opportunities, right? We went into we connected our Docusign. We went into Docusign. We added forms. We filled them out. We sent them out for signature. We got them back signed in our room. We uploaded them back into Command for a compliance check. We submitted to the office. We got approval, right? That's the process. Now, again, it seems like a lot, but if you go practice this, I can create an opportunity, get my listing paperwork, turn it in my office in under 25 minutes, 20 minutes per file, right? Once you know the steps and the activities, it just was very drawn out, obviously, over 2 hours here, okay? So let's take a step back here. Questions, comments, additions. Did you learn something? If you did, give me an aha. Give me some feedback.
Thank you. Good aha. This was great today.
And so I'm assuming, back to templates, we can do, I'm assuming every single form has to have the brokerage and all that on there, every single form.
Okay, here's the cool thing about it actually is, let me see. Let me add a form here. All right, to answer your question easily. So if I have a listing agreement and I have the firm name on that, that has the tag firm name. So if I have another form that only needs firm name, I don't need to template it, because if I actually add the name in one document, it'll carry over onto every document in the room that has that tag. So it just depends on, so I do the big documents, right? Like the deport disclosure, the only thing that's on this deport disclosure, and if you're in Virginia, we need, like all of us use the same form, right? This is from the state. The only thing on this form is the property address, the buyer's names, or the seller's names rather, okay? So there's no reason to template the deport disclosure, because both of these fields are coming from the details.
Right. Okay.
Right. So you're just going to look at your forms and go, which ones do I need to actually create a template for that take time? You don't need to do it for all of them.
Okay.
Good question. What else?
I would like to know how to change the change the email address, because I didn't set up my account. My office has like, I think it's like Scott
Leroy Marketing.
Yes, and they set it up. And I do have a Keller Williams email address, but they set it up to my Google address. So I just wanted to see how to change that so that I could have it go to the KW account. Gotcha.
Good. All right. Doesn't really matter. However, you should be able to change it. Clicking in your initials in the upper right-hand corner here and clicking on Manage Profile. And inside that Manage Profile is where your email address is. And I think you can actually change your email address like associated with your account there.
Okay, and then I would send and then I could send the DocuSign authorization to that account and set it up that way.
Yeah, so like here it says my email address and it's allowing me to update that email address. I think that's what you would go through to be able to change it to your KW and then be able to log in right to the same account. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Good question. What else?
How long does it take till the recording is up?
Doy, I don't know if you're on here on the call still. I don't maybe see you anymore. Nope. I don't know the answer. So I'm one of those people, I won't make it up. Usually they do have it up same day. So hopefully today they will have that up.
Oh, okay. No, it was great. I mean, it's a lot, even though you seem like you know it, it's going to take a lot of practice, obviously.
Yep. It'll take some practice. Let me see if I've got, I'm going to share a cheat sheet with you. Hold on. Let me find this cheat sheet for you. Kind of written instructions of what we did today. Anybody else have any other questions while I look for that?
No, this has been great, Kyle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. It's been very nuts and bolts kind of stuff to go through the actual process.
And listen, like I'm passionate about this because I want to see you guys all succeed. If you don't know how to do this, you're in trouble. Right. So I don't want you to stop lead generating, but like you got to push through the pain of this. If you're sitting there and you're like, man, this is a lot. Just again, pick somebody on this call here and say, hey, do you want to try to go back and forth this weekend and create a listing agreement, send it over to you? Just you got to jump into it and fail forward fast. Right. And that's what you need to do to get comfortable.
We could have done that. I could have been doing that for the last month because
that's why you're on the that's why you're on the class today. So just you know, from here on, just dig in and just send it out from there. I do have a written, let me find it for you real quick. Files. I've got like what we did today in a step-by-step, like one document. So like I have it printed out when I was learning this and stuck it up on my wall. So let me get this for you guys so that you guys get a little extra bonus for being here. All right. I know it's Friday. All right, let me share my screen here with you. I'm going to stick this in here for you. Put up a link. All right, so this right here is a document that a friend down in Florida put together. I'm not going to take credit for it, but it literally is everything we did today, right? So add a contact, create opportunity, go to start a transaction, right? Go to, you know, so it's literally walking you through, and some of these ones are hyperlinks. So it takes you into like a more detailed article if you get stuck on a certain step, and it'll walk into like some more specific, you know, training and stuff like that. Okay. So let me download this and I'm going to stick it into the Zoom in a file. All right. So everyone in the chat, right, should see that now. You should be able to download that file right from the chat feature of Zoom.
That's wrong one. Let me see.
All right, guys, any other troubleshooting type stuff or any other final thoughts here before we move on with this Friday?
Thank you for that document. And the training was very concise. I appreciate it. Clear and concise. So thank you.
Let's see.
Absolutely.
Where is that format?
All right, I'm done. I'm going to stick on for a few minutes. So if anyone feels like they're done and they want to jump off and they've had enough Docusign for one day, go ahead and do so. I can go ahead and let me put my email address in the chat for you guys as well. So Kyle Holleran at kw.com. Happy just to give you some assistance, work with all your MCTTs as well. So they all know this, but I'm happy to be able to just be a good part of the KW family. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to follow up.
Let's see, open file.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Sure thing. Talk to you guys soon. All right, I'm going to stop recording.
Thank you.
You're welcome.